Jungle.
Together and say no to what is happening. Then the third point I want to raise is if any plan to skip the 2028 general elections strips millions of Zimbabweans of their most fundamental democratic right, which is the right to choose their leader through a free, fair, and regular election. You see, I want ZANU-PF and those behind the 2030 nonsense, I want them to understand that sovereignty resides in the people of Zimbabwe, and attempting any effort to deny them that scheduled election is by definition an authoritarian power grab. It's unacceptable. The people have a right to go back to elections and choose their leaders as enshrined in our constitution. And of course, the fourth point I want to say is any attempt to amend presidential term limits is subject to strict and rigorous legal processes requiring 2/3 majority in both houses of parliament. And of course, we also know that crucially established, there is need for a referendum, which they want to bypass. They want to jump and skip clearly laid out legal procedures. Kuite chitsotsi chaicho chaicho kuita sokuti vana veMazimbabwe tiri madununu anoreva one of them. We are not like that. We are not like that. The children of Zimbabwe are not as foolish as they want to believe. They know clearly that going back to the people to get that mandate, they won't get it. If we were to go for a referendum, they will be defeated square and fine. And then they want to create bypasses and gateways to avoid going and to face the people of Zimbabwe. That is unacceptable. It is unacceptable. And let me say, the fifth point I want to raise is that, there's clear regression to authoritarian past. We're coming from an authoritarian rule of Robert Mugabe, and some actually believe that Emmerson Mnangagwa was going to be any better, but alas, he's just worse. ED is just getting worse. And this attempt to kill the constitution of the country is unacceptable. Is completely unacceptable. These maneuvers would fatally undermine regional and international democratic norms and signal a deepening commitment to totalitarian rule by this ZANU-PF regime. It's unacceptable. It's absolutely unacceptable what they want to do. And of course, the sixth and last point that I want to raise is that the 2-term limit was a component of the constitutional consensus achieved in 2013, supported by a popular referendum. It represents a sacred social contract between the state and citizens. Unilaterally tearing it up for political expedience shows contempt for the Zimbabwean people and destroys faith in the very concept of constitutionalism and the rule of law. And that is unacceptable. Why should we allow ED to break that social contract with the people of Zimbabwe? Saka, now the message which is very clear, Kuti, as they are trying to destroy this social contract, the people of Zimbabwe have come together to unite. And for the first time, I would want to tell you, Kuti, for the first time, opposition political forces, civil society, church organizations, only today, let me report to you to say, I think over 10, 15 church organizations reached out to me saying that they want to be part of this process. War veterans organizations, war veterans and different groups of veterans associations, they've been reaching out to us to say we want to be part of this agenda to resist the illegal and corrupt desire to change the constitution to suit an individual. So what they are actually doing is that they are giving impetus and fresh life to the fight for democracy in this country, for the people of Zimbabwe to come together to converge and resist this. So which is actually a huge positive. People have had their own differences. Our struggle has been long and the battle been painful. But now what is happening is that this agenda by ZANU-PF is bringing us together. And even within ZANU-PF itself, there are a lot of people. Let me report to this platform that there are people within ZANU-PF who have been reaching out to us to say, please, gentlemen, we are behind you fully. Should they take this thing to a referendum, we will beat them heads down because we will never vote for such nonsense. So they've created real problems for themselves. And their only response to it in terms of the problem they've created, they want to stop anybody who wants to speak out. When we gathered yesterday, they were beating up people. They arrested some people only to release them later. What regime is it in the world that bars people from holding a press conference? Have we stooped so low? But again, as I said at the beginning, we've allowed these things to happen because we've not triggered Section 97 as a people. When ED violated the Constitution left, right, and center over and over, when Honorable Job Sikala spent nearly 2 years in pre-trial detention, we should have held them to account to say, this is not right, you are breaking the law. Last time they arrested me they arrested me for a crime that happened when I was even outside the country. And they said I was at Jameson Timber's house for a meeting. And I've never, up to today, I've never been at my brother, Honorable Timber's house. I've never been there. But I went to three months at Chikurubi, in pre-trial detention for a meeting that I never attended. So the thing is, have we held them to account to say you are continuously breaking the law and we want you to go? We should not be even talking about the 2030 nonsense. We should be talking about ED being forced to resign because he has broken the law and the constitution of Zimbabwe. This is not the first time he intends to break it. He has done it before, and we should trigger Section 97. So what I want to appeal to all of us is to say, let us come together. And I think our differences are not bigger than the problems that ED wants to create now. Let's set aside those differences. Let us come together. Let us unite. I like the attitude of war veterans, churches, civil society. They are all saying, what are the next steps? We want to be part of it. And if eventually you call us to the streets, we'll go en masse to show our desire to resist this evil, to change the constitution of the country. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I will give the floor back to you, our host.
Thank you very much, President Ngaruvume. Thank you very much, Jacob. I do appreciate addressing us, talking to us. The 6 points, that you've raised. I hope folks, will have a better understanding of why there is a need to respond to the Zimbabwe's constitutional crisis that is about to be unleashed on us, as Zimbabweans, through the resolution number 1, which ZANU-PF want to enforce, which will lead to Emerson Mnangagwa extending his term of office by 2 years. Thank you very much for that. My sister Silenko Simoyo, it is almost 7 now. Are you ready for me? Silenko Simoyo? Right. She seemed not to be there. Right. Honorable Job Sigala, can I
Uncle
come to
Jeds.
you? Yes, can I come to you now? I'm still looking, for others. Honorable Tendai Beach is still there. Still to respond to the invite, but I'm not sure. I saw Honorable Prince Tobacco in there. If I can kindly ask you, sir, to make a request, and then I'll bring you onto the podium as a speaker. But if you can also point me to the other speakers, especially from those that we're going to be speaking in Bulawayo, it will be very much appreciated. And then we can have as many of you guys, speak to us. But Honorable Job Sekala, since you're the only one, who's here, who can respond, can I give you, the floor to address us?
While Honorable is coming, Uncle, can I just ask people? So we've got over 600 people. Can we please just repost this space so that we can get a lot of people coming in to participate in the conversation? Please, if we can just repost. If you click on the comment section there, you will see an option to repost. Just asking you people to repost. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, for that, Mofutitis. Yeah, I think it's important that we get people to repost, this. And thanks to those who are streaming on various, platforms. Thank you very much for helping, spread, the message. I see Honorable Sigala is dropped, but Prince Dubeko Siban, Honorable, how are you? How are you doing?
Uncle Jota, how are you?
I am good, sir. I'm good. Thank you very much for coming through.
Indeed, thank you so much for inviting us onto this platform.
Oh, you're very welcome. Yesterday, I saw there was somehow a kerfuffle with people dressed in civilian. What was going on there?
What happened yesterday? We woke up in the morning to report that police officers and other people in civilian clothing had sealed the entrance to the Blawayo Club, which is the venue that we had booked for the meeting, for the press conference. In fact, before I got those reports, I had received calls from the managers at the Blawayo Club indicating that some 4-5 huge men came to the club a day before and told them that they shouldn't allow the presser to go ahead. And that in the morning, 8 more had come. And when I inquired, then because the hotel, the club were now asking us to shift the venue because they felt that their employees and their property was no longer safe from the people that I saw. And I also then got information from the system itself to the effect that instructions were given a day before yesterday to the effect that the presser should not go ahead. And I got also information that the people that were there were dangerous. In fact, I was warned that you go there at your own risk, but the people that are there are dangerous. And if you want to see, just drive by in a car and check the people that are there. So I did exactly that. I passed through the place and I saw multitudes of people dressed in police uniform, but also multitudes of bouncers, literally bouncers like those that you find in drinking clubs. So I then later learned that some of my colleagues and journalists were being chased away from the club, and then I decided to go there with the team that I had. We were close to about 20, and we when I got there, I was asked where I was going, and I told them that I was going inside to hold a press conference. And then they told me that the press conference had been cancelled. And then I asked who cancelled it, and they said it is the security. And then I said, which security specifically? Because I need to know. And even when then I asked who these gentlemen were, because the majority of them were not in any uniform, they were in civilian clothing. And apparently some of them were actually identified as bouncers, local bouncers, who might be members of ZANU-PF or who might have just been hired. In fact, some of them are combi drivers. They were identified and people continue to identify them up to today. But we also realized that there were new faces that are not common in Bulawayo. But yeah, they were menacing, they were dangerous, they were prepared to do anything. In fact, you could tell that they were very much prepared to do anything towards anyone who defied their order. So I introduced myself and told them that I had booked the place and that I would like to see the general manager. They allowed me to go in to see the general manager, who told me that, as you can see, Honorable, there's no way that I can help you. So I then went out and asked who the police officer who had ordered the cancellation of my meeting was, and they pointed to a superintendent. I talked to that superintendent, and when I asked him what his name was, he couldn't positively identify himself. So the most worrying situation to most of us is when police and other security agencies begin to collaborate or work in cahoots with hired men and women. That is quite worrying. Because what it means that the police and other security agents were now taking instructions from other people that are not security personnel. And that is quite a dangerous situation. So we ended up then leaving that place because we then had been told that amongst them there were some snipers that were there, and those people are identified snipers, that they were ready to shoot at anyone and kill. So we then left the place, the venue, and we regathered. But even as we went, we were being followed by these hired goons, threatening and menacingly to all that were there. So we went and tried to regroup, but we could see that they were following us. We had a brief discussion amongst ourselves as a team, and we agreed that maybe for purposes of peace, let us disperse, and agreed that we were not going to hold another presser at another venue. Because it was a general feeling by colleagues that the disruption itself was so newsworthy that our presser would dilute it, and that our presser and statement can be given in any other form anyway. So that's what we went through yesterday, Uncle Bex.
Oh, thank you very much, for giving us, the lowdown of what happened, yesterday. But despite that disruption and the spirited efforts to want to try and address, the people, which could not, happen, yesterday, you tried your level best to, to make it work. But due to our circumstances, it was not possible. So I'll give you this opportunity, Honorable, to talk to
Yeah,
us, to address us,
yeah.
the same way that you wanted to address us, yesterday. Please, can you continue?
Thank you so much, Uncle Betts. I think this story of attempting to literally muzzle and control the constitution of Zimbabwe by Emerson Mnangagwa can be traced back to of course the common 2017 one we know, but also to immediately after the 2018 elections. That's when Emerson started to decimate the constitution, and with the sole intention of making sure that he controls each and every institution of authority in this country. Any institution that is supposed to be a buffer towards human rights and democracy, he made sure that he decimated them or he controlled them, and they report directly to him. So his first point of call was to make sure that he removed the running mate clause.
Mm.
That's how daring this gentleman is. He is so daring when it comes to power. He wants it at any cost. So he removed the running mate, and the running mate is his running mate. Theoretically, or if you look at it politically, was General Chiwenga, the man who a few months earlier had assisted him to ascend to power. He is the first person that he demobilized. He made sure that he doesn't want to share the power of presidents with anybody. It has to be with him and him alone. Then he then went for the judiciary. He reversed the appointment of the Chief Justice, Deputy Chief Justice, and Judge President of the High Court from being appointed through a publicly conducted interview. And then he said he was going to appoint them directly. So when we ignored the running mate clause, we told ourselves as Zimbabweans that ainyaya Chiwenga ngokuka Chiwenga lokho. But we didn't know that ultimately he'll get at us, all of us together. So he then captured the judiciary by making sure that the three most powerful judiciary positions pay allegiance to him. And you know, make no mistake, Uncle Betts, in the history of this nation, ever since civilization and some kind of governance started in this country, there was never a time when a judge was invited to State House to discuss about a case like we saw here pertaining to the case of Mtswangwa's son. A judge was summoned to State House. Come here. But we are grateful the judge then after that recused herself from the matter, which was ethical in my view. But we have never seen it before. It has never been recorded that a judge, a sitting judge of the High Court, is invited to State House to be questioned about a case that she is presiding on. Then after that, he increased the term of office of the Chief Justice and made the Chief Justice to enjoy that amendment, even though he was an incumbent and who was not supposed to benefit from the extension of the term limit. He made him to do that. No referendum, nothing. Now, if now he says, I also want to extend mine, Chief Justice, I extended yours. Which court will you go to try and reverse that? Show me which court a Zimbabwean will go to say, no, this person wants to extend their term of office. And that we find that to be unlawful. Court, can you interpret? How do you think Chief Justice Malaba is going to deal with that matter? Remember that there were judges of the High Court that had actually made a ruling that he could not benefit from the extension of limit of time. And what happened? They were censored. Those judges were censored. So, this is the situation that we have. After he captured the judiciary, he then used the judiciary to decimate the opposition. And the test run was in 2020, after the judgment by Justice Patel. Monzora and Kupe took over the party, and they started chasing whomever. They were doing work for Idi Mnangagwa. And it was after that, those recalls, that the amendment number 1 and amendment number 2 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe were introduced in Parliament. And then we come to 2023. In fact, some of us who had been recalled in order to facilitate constitutional amendment number 1 and number 2, when we went back after a by-election, those had already been passed. And then come 2023, everyone knows what happened in 2023. It doesn't happen in a normal democracy that a person can arise from nowhere and call himself a position that is not known to anybody, and then decimate the opposition. Now, we don't have a parliament in terms of what we envisaged in the 2013 constitution as it was. We don't have a parliament. We don't have a parliament because it has become a parliament where the opposition, despite a reasonable number, in fact, in 2023, ZANU-PF had not achieved the 2/3 majority. We had 103 members of parliament. So even trying to circumvent the referendum would not have worked with the parliament that we had in 2023, the parliament that had been elected in 2023. If it had remained in the manner that it was elected by the people, even with those results that are questioned in some respects, but still ZANU-PF and ED Mnangagwa would not have managed. So in order to get that beyond 2/3 majority, he had to decimate so ruthlessly, and so brazenly. During daylight, while everyone is watching, it started like a drama. Some of us, when it started, we said, this is a drama. Because this Chabang is known by nobody. You can call anyone in the street and they'll tell you that we don't know this one in this party. But yes, he was allowed to decimate parliament. What for? For this moment that we find ourselves now. Chabang was an ED 2030 project. And it was being run from the office of the president. We are aware that some letters that were written by Chabang would be withdrawn by Isaac Moyo then when he was Director General, and go and instruct him to say, no, this one, remove them from the list. It was controlled directly and paid for from the president's office. Legal fees for Chabang were paid directly from the president's office. And when the president's office stopped, it was paid by Sapanya through the assistance of Jacob Mdenda. That if you don't assist this guy with legal fees, this matter is going to be reversed and you are no longer going to be in parliament. So they paid legal fees. Meanwhile, judges were also instructed, try to find, because at one time we are aware that Chabang was told that we are no longer going to give you the judiciary cover. And for sure, that is the case that is seemingly lost, but of course was then corrected, if you put it in quotations. So all that was being done in order to allow ED Mnangagwa, not even 2030 that you are talking about. He wants to abolish the right to vote. Mnangagwa wants to become a king, Munumtapa. No wonder why all these funny celebrations about Munumtapa Day coinciding with his birthday. He wants to be king. Look at how frequent the visits to Swaziland have been by Mnangagwa. He wants to go and copy something there, so that he comes to become a king. Now, what it means is that we are going to be ruled forever by a cabal, one man and a cabal. But we can't allow that to happen. We can't afford to allow that to happen. And Idi Mnangagwa has got to know that. He can threaten us with death. He can threaten us with anything. He can try to bribe us with his money. But our unchangeable position is that we cannot allow democracy to continuously being receded by an individual. What for? For what benefit to the nation? When people went unanimously to go and vote for that constitution in a referendum, they had put up an architecture that we are not going to have an imperial president. We are not going to have a one-man show running our country, controlling our institutions, and looting our resources unabatedly. That's not what they dreamt of. They wanted a president who could be checked by his deputy because they were both elected. They wanted a president who could be checked by the judiciary. They dreamt of a president who could be brought to account by parliament. He has reversed everything. So that cannot happen, Uncle Betts. Zimbabweans will not allow that. Some of us are committed to face death. If it will be recorded that we were fighting for what was right. So the purpose of the press conference was to disseminate information to Zimbabweans to understand that this thing that is being talked about is not a joke. We are dealing with a daring person that unless all of us together we stand to stop the desecration of democracy. It is not only the desecration of the constitution, it is of the democracy. You won't have a voice anymore. Because even if you try to raise your voice, they will arrest and detain you. There's no judiciary that will help you. No wonder why Walter Mzembe, he said that he should remain there. We have already heard the pronouncements that he should remain inside until. So you have no judiciary, you have no parliament, you are on your own in a prison cell, or they kill you.
Wow.
But that's not the country that those who went to war went for.
Absolutely. Wow. Oh, yeah, that was loaded. Thank you very much, Honorable, for the message of defiance and the call for unity. The way you've articulated this, wow. And you've given us some information that most of us, did not know that, this is what is happening in our country, and this is what was, going on. And the history lesson that you've given there, that speaks to the journey that was being traveled. It's quite profound and quite important for people to be knowledgeable so that they begin to understand why you guys and the rest of the people that wanted to speak yesterday saw it fit that they should address the Zimbabwean folks, the Zimbabwean people, pertaining to a constitutional crisis that is about to unfold in Zimbabwe. Thank you very much, Honorable Prince. I do appreciate. I want to move on, ladies and gentlemen, for the sake of time. I don't know, my sister Selinko Smoyo, are you there with us now?
Audio Jungle. Jungle.